What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. We're about to make a big push on the 363 in the black car. But up here in Ohio, it's snowy, so it's kind of hard right now to do a lot of content outside at all, if my ice doesn't give that away right off the bat. But inside the shop, it's a nice 65, 70 degrees. We got a whole bit of parts over here that we're about to put on the Mustang. So let's get started. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't. Leave me a comment below. Let's get into it. Like I was saying, we got a whole bunch of parts we got to put on the black car, because the only way that I can get an exhaust to put on the black car is if I actually have a driveline in place. So about the only thing I have to do here, reseal the shim the front, which only takes a minute, and I got to seal the shifter. So the transmission is ready to install, along with a lot of these parts. As I've said in other videos, I got my T56 sitting here under the shell, but I can't use the T56 right now because the QuickTime bell housing is on back order for another month or so. So I can't wait another month to get this thing rolling. Worst case scenario, me, cousin Paul, cousin Fred crank down on a day and just change transmissions. It won't be a big deal because the black car's already kind of set up for that. But for now, we got to get this thing up in the air. I'm going to show you the parts that we got ready to go. So we got a whole table full of new parts and good used parts that we've had over the years. The white car ended up taking a lot of the parts that the T56 swap was in the black car so we could get it rolling, because remember the T56 faceplate is in the white car. And that used to be in the black car. So we're actually converting this back to a Tremec small block Ford setup instead of putting the T56 in for now, just because of backward. But what I had before was I had a QuickTime bell housing. I spent the last couple of days trying to get bolts together because if you remember, like I was just saying, we were scavenging parts to get the T56 in the white car. But I completely forgot the hardware that we used on the black car for the T56 is actually on the white cars. But pretty basic. We got a Hanlon Motorsports SN95 style clutch cable. I've talked about this before in my other videos. Are a little bit longer, so they go around header pipes a lot better. Not that we're dealing with header pipes with turbos right now, but it still clears very well. We got the RXT brand new 1200 10.5 inch RXT HD ready to install, and a brand new McLeod billet steel flywheel with removable weights. Since our engine is a zero counterbalance, we won't have to put any of those on. We're just gonna go ahead and stick with our trusty old Ford starter. It's been with us for a few years. Seems to be just fine. I had to go and get some hardware for the safety bolts, and I actually had to buy some Allen-headed bolts for the bell to block. We're pretty much close to where we're getting ready to hammer that pilot bearing in, and we're gonna go quick. I'm gonna put you on a time lapse on a lot of this stuff and pull the video camera out when I'm trying to explain something you need to look for. So I'm sorry if I bore you or whatever. We can get it done and we can get this exhaust put on. We got 3-inch tailpipes here that we want to get installed on the black car here. And the only way to run my exhaust is to make sure that everything's ready and installed so I don't have to go back over it twice. But for right now, we're gonna go ahead and hit this pilot bearing, get it put in on our brand new K1 Technology crankshaft on the 363. And we're gonna start getting our black back plate and start getting our flywheel and everything in here. Again, I'm gonna put you on a little time lapse. You can watch this work and probably make some funnies. Pilot bearing keeps the transmission in line with the crankshaft to keep everything straight. So I put a lot of grease in this. So I know you guys are probably wondering, well, why am I going with TKS 600 if I already broke it like twice? Naturally aspirated with a 363, it's probably not going to make more than a 400, 4 1/4 wheel. We'll see. Maybe I have room to be surprised. And even with a small shot of nitrous, I could probably run 9s with this transmission and probably not damage or hurt it while I wait for the back order on the T56 part. You know, I'm not going to wait. We sit too many times on our Mustangs and just wait for parts and then everything's back ordered, or I'll do that next week. We just got to get this thing running. If we want to change something, we could always go back. You know what I mean? All right, we got the ground on, ready to go for the injector harness, and then we're going to go ahead and stick this aftermarket. So we're going to put this little spacer on that goes behind the flywheel, and it goes in a very, wow, I got that right off the bat. Time for a flywheel. This goes in a very particular way, so. So we got the new SFI flywheel in. I got to go through and torque in a sequence. You got to torque these to about, I like to torque them to about 85, 90 torque pounds. And these are all the ARP aftermarket flywheel bolts. The brand new power bearing in. I got the block plate on, the specific for the bell housing, and I got the little spacer behind it. So I'm sorry about the lighting, but we're going to do what we got to do. We're going to keep rolling. I'm going to get this crank down, and then I'm going to go into the clutch. So now we're ready for the bell housing, and you probably wonder why this bell housing looks like it does. This thing is super heavy and it's super thick with steel, because I can tell you right now, sometimes flywheels come off crankshafts and they come through your floorboard. And you need to have some sort of blow-proof bell housing at higher horsepower, or you have a chance at losing your leg if that comes through the floor pan. If you can afford the extra money to get a bell housing, like a Lakewood, a QuickTime, or even, you know, whether it be for a C4 or an automatic, it's probably a good idea that you do that, because I wouldn't recommend going up past 500 horsepower without one. So now we're at the point where we're going to go ahead and take this twin disc apart. We're going to install it on the flywheel. These are very specific when you're taking the RXT apart. It's got two different types of washers on it, and you don't want to lose them. And you don't want them to fall inside of your twin disc either, because then they're able to get out. Ask Cousin Paul about that. Like I said, there's these 6 bottom washers, spacers, whatever you want to call it. You got to be very careful. The nice thing about McLeod I like is they actually mark their discs. These are ceramics, so they actually mark their disc, flywheel side and top. Pretty dummy proof for dummies like me. So you don't have to worry about getting them messed up. So I'm gonna take some quick brake cleaner, because you never know what's still on this disc from being stored. It's a brand new flywheel, so it'd be worth to make sure that this makes a good seat right off the bat. Same with flywheel, because my fingers were all over it. Mm-hmm. All right, so I got to put the middle plate on it, the mid plate. Pretty easy peasy. Brake clean it. Remember not to get the mark too much brake cleaned, otherwise you're gonna lose your markings. But like I said, it's not a big deal. All right, YouTube, we're gonna go ahead and cut the video here, because we have a small issue that I want to go ahead and show you underneath of the car. The McLeod has very specific bolts. Like, you can't just stick a regular M8 125 in here, because there's not enough room to get the socket around the head of the bolt to get it to tight. I mean, we could have used a wrench, but that's a no-go for me. So guys, tomorrow, make sure you check out, as I'm gonna release the second part of this video of us trying to complete this driveline. We should be successful. I don't see an issue with it from here on out. Hey guys, I appreciate you guys watching thus far. I appreciate you guys being patient with me in the channel. If you enjoy the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe below. Make sure you comment. We do have a membership club membership down below. If you feel like I've helped you at some point with my channel, it's the join button below. We also have some merch on the shelves. Without further ado, I'll see you tomorrow.